So this is our summative presentation on impaired driving. And these are the contents that we'll be covering. So what is impaired driving? Impaired driving is the term used in Canada to describe the criminal offense of operating or having care or control of a motor vehicle while the person's ability to operate the motor vehicle is impaired by alcohol or drug. It is a crime under the Criminal Code of Canada, and the consequences are serious, as one may lose their license or serve in jail and end up with a criminal record. Even one drink can reduce one's ability to react to things that happen suddenly while driving. The effects of alcohol include blurred or double vision, impaired attention, and slowed reflexes. And for drinking and driving, the maximum legal blood alcohol concentration for fully licensed drivers is 0.08. However, any type of drug-impaired driving is illegal, as drugs can impair one's ability to drive.
So, being one of the most commonly committed criminal offenses, impaired driving is truly a serious issue that threatens the safety of the society. Impaired driving causes many casualties along with deaths in Canada every year, but all of this could be easily prevented by individuals being responsible of their decisions and actions. And the education of this topic, the research of this topic can showcase the traumatizing consequences of impaired driving and spread out the awareness of being a responsible driver to both oneself and others. So this research will only benefit the society as a whole, but is also valuable to careers such as provincial Ministry of Transportation police officers, the professional drivers. The provincial Ministry of Transportation can use the information to evaluate whether there is a need to review the existing traffic laws or a need to propose new traffic laws. Police officers will find this research to be helpful as they can distribute the officers accordingly to fulfill the amount of the impaired driving cases. Then there are professional drivers who will find this information alarming and become more cautious of the decisions that they make. So this is our data chart. Our topic is impaired driving. So as you can see, our independent variable is total injuries, and our independent variable is grand per 100,000 population of total impaired driving. Our two strata is the charge of males and females. So here is our histogram and the distribution graph of our independent variable. By calculation, we can know. So this is our mean and this is our median. The type of distribution of this variable is left skewed, as the mean is 3,885 less than the median. However, the shape of the graph appears to be a bimodal distribution. This is a box and whisker plot of our independent variable. As you can see from this picture, there are no outlines shown since there are no star marks on the grid, indicating no data falls out of the range. And by correlation, we can note that the standard deviation is around 38,627. There is no relevance about the standard deviation of this data since there is just one standard deviation.
So our dependent variable is impaired driving rate per 100,000 population. This is our histogram, and this is our distribution graph. The type of distribution for this variable is right skewed, as the mean is larger than the median, and the shape of the graph is evident as well. So this is our mouse charged strata for the dependent variable, and here is the histogram and here is the distribution graph. The type of distribution for this variable is normal distribution, as the mean is close to the median, and the graph too is shaped closely to a bell. So here is our female's chart strata, and the mean is 0.39 more than the median. The type of distribution of this variable is also normal distribution because the mean is close to the median, and the shape of the graph appears to be a bell. So here's our box and whisker plot. There are no outliers shown in this box and whisker plot since there are no star marks on the grid, indicating that no data falls out of the range. And here is our standard deviation calculation. So this histogram shows the total gender charged versus frequency. So the standard deviation of males is very close to the standard deviation of females. It is because the sum of males charged and females charged has to be 100. Therefore, the change of the two strata is relevant. the standard deviation of males charged is about 0.06 higher than the standard deviation of females charged. Therefore, we could say that the data of females charged is more spread out than the data of females charged. However, since the numbers are small, the data maintain at almost the same level. Males charged is the major part, while females charged is the minor part. So, to talk about the correlation coefficient, the correlation coefficient for the rate per 100,000 population and the correlation coefficient for males charged all show a strong positive correlation, and the correlation coefficient for females charged shows a strong negative correlation. So in conclusion, impaired driving indeed acts as an important part in the total traffic accident injuries.
So now we look at the validity of the data. While our data appears to have a strong correlation coefficient, there are still some possible biases, limitations, and assumptions in which might reduce the validity of it. So our independent variable, total injuries caused by collisions, has few biases to be considered when evaluating the validity of the data. So the first bias being non-responsible bias, where the data of total injuries caused by collisions excludes temporary permits prior to 1999, and this influences the validity of our data as they are 14 years of the data were incompletely recorded. And the other bias that can be identified from the data of our independent variable is measurement, as the data was collected from various sources that are now organized on one of the sources. This means that the methods used to collect these data were not the same, which can directly affect the credibility of it. And as for our dependent variable, total impaired driving, there are also some biases that need to be taken note of. So the police reported incidents of drug-impaired driving were less likely to be cleared by charge than incidents of alcohol-impaired driving. This is because alcohol and drug-impaired driving have the same level of seriousness. So it is up to the police to determine which should be the primary violation. And since police do not always report secondary offenses, number of incidents involving drivers impaired by both alcohol and drug could be underestimated, which influenced the validity of our data. And aside from the biases identified above, there are few limitations in which deduct the validity of our data as well. The data of our independent variable, total injuries caused by collisions, were stated to be estimated, and the efficiency of this set of data negatively impact the validity of our overall data. Another limitation that needs to be noticed is the fact that the human resources of the police department are limited, meaning that not every urban or rural road is being supervised the whole time, thus resulting in the data being limited to a certain amount of violations recorded, which in addition influences the validity of our data. And despite our research of the data is very informational and relatively completed, there is still one assumption in which we had to make in order to validate the relation between our variables. When it comes to the strata of our independent variable, police reported impaired driving incidents by sex of accused. There's a gap from the year of 2011 to 2015. With this section missing from the data, we are not able to make further analysis. Therefore, as an assumption, we calculate the missing data using the rate of change, which is 5% per year. And as an assumption, naturally, this will reduce the validity of our data. So here's the work cited. Thank you very much for your time.